to advocate for the people of West Papua in response to the long-standing persecution of the Indonesians to the people of West Papua.
My name is Caroline Carruthers Aranguren, and I have the privilege of working with the West Papua Human Rights Center.
I am Charity Myra Titiulu. I'm the co-founder of the West Papua Human Rights Center.
Friends, welcome to the Manuskrip Papua YouTube channel.
Selamat datang di channel YouTube Manuskrip Papua. Teman-teman, ini merupakan webinar merefleksikan peringatan Proklamasi Papua Merdeka tanggal 14 Desember tahun 1988 yang diadakan oleh Pusat Hak Asasi Manusia Papua Barat di Washington, AS. Webinar ini sebagai bagian dari perayaan ulang tahun kemerdekaan Republik Melanesia Barat 14 Desember 1988 sampai 14 Desember 2024. Pembicaraan saat ini adalah pemaparan argumen hukum solusi Washington, sebagai bagian penting dari upaya untuk memajukan keadilan dan kebebasan penentuan nasib sendiri bagi orang Melanesia di Papua Barat. Acara ini menggarisbawahi pentingnya mengakui proklamasi tanggal 14 Desember tahun 1988 dan memajukan aspirasi rakyat Melanesia di Papua Barat untuk kebebasan dan penentuan nasib sendiri. Melalui diskusi dan presentasi yang penuh pertimbangan, para pembicara menegaskan kembali komitmen terhadap solusi Washington, sebuah proposal strategis yang menyerukan pengakuan internasional atas Republik Melanesia Papua Barat dan mendesak pemerintah Amerika Serikat untuk mengambil tindakan yang berarti. Webinar ini juga berfungsi sebagai platform untuk menyoroti solusi Washington, argumen hukum yang kuat yang menggarisbawahi hak yang tidak dapat disangkal dari orang Melanesia untuk menentukan nasib sendiri, bernegara bagian, berbangsa dan bertanah air sendiri. Teman-teman, apapun tanggapan Anda, jangan lupa komentarnya wajib sopan dan salam hormat dari saya YouTuber Manuskrip Papua. Manuskrip. 2, 1.
Good morning, and on behalf of the West Papua Human Rights Center here in the United States, we'd like to welcome everybody that is joining the forum today here in the U.S. and around the world. We appreciate all that you have done for the people of West Papua and continue to do. By way of introduction, I just wanted to say that the Human Rights Center here was formed in 2018 on this day on behalf of the people of West Papua to advocate for the people of West Papua in response to the long-standing persecution of the Indonesians to the people of West Papua. So it was with that in mind that we formed this organization to do several things. One, to bring the cause of the people of West Papua to light, to advocate for their self-determination, and to do this in a peaceful manner. Our organization is a organization built on peace. We do not advocate for violence, but we advocate for the people of West Papua and always will. The mission as well is to not only inform people around the world, but to inform the U.S. government of what has taken place within the island on West Papua and to help secure a future for the people of West Papua and their self-determination. So to that end, we also advocate for the rights of those within West Papua, for women and children, for those that have been abused by human rights, and for the protection of the land of the people of West Papua and the environment. And with that, we were formed, and shortly after that, in 2019, received our official status as a U.S. organization, a 501c3, and later our position within the United Nations to advocate for Indigenous people. So it is our hope today that we would share some of the ideas that we have brought to the table regarding the future of West Papua and how we would support that, and to ask for support around the world, and especially here in the United States as well, to move forward with those objectives. So first and foremost, I'd like to thank again everyone that has participated in this forum, but most importantly, the people of West Papua who have struggled for well over 50 years for their self-determination in a peaceful manner and in light of all the persecutions. We do have several things that we would like to accomplish today, and hope at the end of this we'll have a call to action so those that are not only here in the United States but around the world will be able to do something for the cause. So with that, let me introduce one of our current members of the Human Rights Center, an intern that is here with us today, and I'll allow her to expand on that. Carolyn, please.
Thank you. Hello all, and I want to thank you again for joining us here today. My name is Caroline Carruthers Aranguren, and I have the privilege of working with the West Papua Human Rights Center. As someone from Puerto Rico with a Cuban family, I have grown up deeply aware of the nuances of identity, self-determination, and the struggles that come with striving for justice and freedom. This personal connection, coupled with my passion for languages and cultural diversity, has drawn me to the cause of West Papua. a region that remarkably is home to over 500 distinct languages, each representing a unique thread in the tapestry of its rich cultural heritage. The West Papua Human Rights Center is dedicated to defending the human rights, eco-rights, and religious freedoms of the people of West Papua. For decades, this Melanesian nation in waiting has faced profound challenges under Indonesian rule. Today, I want to briefly walk you through the history of this struggle. Then we'll have several speakers share their perspectives. The story of West Papua begins long before colonization, with its indigenous communities thriving for thousands of years on one of the world's most resource-rich islands. However, in 1885, colonial powers divided the island of New Guinea, setting the stage for future conflict. After World War II, West Papua was poised to embark on a journey of independence, yet global politics intervened. In 1962, the New York Agreement, brokered under U.S. pressure, transferred control of West Papua from the Netherlands to Indonesia, bypassing the voices of the West Papuan people. This agreement promised a referendum on self-determination. However, the 1969 Act of Free Choice was anything but free. Instead of a democratic vote, only 1,022 people were handpicked representatives, so less than 0.01% of the population were coerced into voting for integration with Indonesia. Threats, intimidation, and military oversight ensured that the outcome was predetermined. The United Nations, regrettably, simply took note of this process, legitimizing the outcome without full scrutiny. Since then, the West Papuan people have endured systematic marginalization and discrimination. Indigenous Papuans are often treated as second-class citizens in their own land, facing displacement, economic inequalities, and cultural suppression. Efforts to assimilate them into a dominant Indonesian identity have endangered their languages and traditions. Despite this, the resilience of the West Papuan people is extraordinary. Grassroots movements such as the West Papuan National Authority, the Student Solidarity of Papua, and the National Committee for West Papua have worked tirelessly, often under immense risk, to bring attention to their cause. Yet their voices are often silenced by a heavy Indonesian military presence, restricted access for journalists, and international apathy. West Papua's struggle is not just a regional issue, it is a global call to uphold human rights and to respect the principle of self-determination enshrined in international law. As someone passionate about languages and cultures, I am struck by the richness of West Papua's diversity and the tragedy of its erasure. The West Papuan people deserve more than survival. They deserve the chance to thrive, to celebrate their identities, and to determine their own future. It is our shared responsibility to ensure their voices are not forgotten. Thank you. And now I'll pass it over to Sister Charity.
Hello. Good morning to everyone around the world. I am Charity Myra Titiulu. I'm the co-founder of the West Papuan Human Rights Center, based here in Washington, D.C., as well the outreach director. The aim of the West Papuan Human Rights Center is to bring advocacy work within the United States Senate and the Congress, as well as the United Nations. For decades, the Indonesian government has failed the international community on human rights. So it is our work that we make sure that the voices of the people of West Papua be heard here in the United States and the UN and all around the world. Our work is to make sure that the United Nations send a human rights team into West Papua to document the atrocities and injustice towards the people of West Papua. So, in all, we wish the women and children of West Papua a peaceful holiday this Christmas. As we know, women and children, the indigenous children of West Papua, they for long faced atrocities under the Indonesian government. And now that we pull work together within the Human Rights Center, we pray that we pave way and through our work be seen on the international stage as we work towards not only advocating, but above all is the freedom of the people. And so our work is going forward. And so that's what we do here in Washington at the Human Rights Center, is to make sure that the advocating work on the human rights go forward. And as well as a Melanesian woman, I stand in defense of the rights of the women and children indigenous of West Melanesia, West Papua, that their voices be heard. And one day, soon the freedom will come to shores. So that's all I can say. And before I stopped, I want to introduce our writer, our media person, to come and share as well his work as well here at the center, Mr. Johnny Tuhaika.
Sorry, Brother Johnny, can you unmute your voice, please? Unmute?
Yeah, I think you're on mute.
Yeah? Did you mute me, Aman?
Okay, now you're good.
Okay. Thank you, Tarati. Thank you to Rohaman Wangkai Bikla, Hama Master Lukunibra. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Haman asked me to talk about the legacy of Dr. Tom Wangkai, and it's a long story, but I think because of him, we are here today, December 14, right? Because of Dr. Tom Wangkai, December 14 is a very important date, and the history. Caroline outlined the history of West Papua and from colonial era, from the Netherlands and then the UN and transfer all the way to Indonesia. But it's important to understand who this guy was, Dr. Tom Wangkai. I'll just talk briefly about him and then talk about his weapon. And when I interviewed Haman a few years ago, he told me about the weapon that Dr. Tom Wangkai gave his people, and that is paper and pen or pencil. Very powerful, right? Because that's what non-violent people do. They write and they speak. There is no guns, no bombs, no grenades. So that is exactly the legacy of Tom Wangkai. He was a great leader. Now I'll refer to him as Dr. Tom, the first name is. That's what Haman and most of his family refer to him as Dr. Tom. And he started criticizing Indonesia earlier on. I mean, not in 1980. He didn't start in 1988. When he was a student in Japan, for instance, he was studying law in Japan. He wrote many articles about the legality of Indonesian occupation of West Papua, challenging the sovereignty of Indonesia over West Papua. When he returned to West Papua, he was thrown in prison for 6 months, and he spent about 6 months behind bars. He went back to Japan. He got out, went back to Japan, graduated with his law degree, and returned to Indonesia. Then he came to America, came to New York. I think he studied at the New York University. And then he got his master's degree, went down to Florida, got his PhD, and then returned to West Papua. Now, you all know, islanders, when you reach that level of education, you are comfortable. You go back home, get all the fancy cars, the house, and all that. But that wasn't his mission. His mission was to liberate his people from Indonesian colonialism, and that was his goal. So he went back to West Papua, and he became a professor, and he didn't enjoy the money. He wanted more. He wanted something to be done because he knew the life before Indonesia, and he lived through the Indonesian colonial system, and he wanted what was denied to them in 1969 to be restored, and so he decided to lead a movement that we now know as the nonviolent movement in West Papua. And I wanted to know why the West Papuan people call him the father of nonviolence, and Haman gave me a book this thick to read. So I just skipped to the part where Dr. Tom started his movement. And it started in 1969. 99% of West Papuans rejected the election of 1969. And a lot of them took up arms against Indonesia. And the movement started by the OPM. And it was a violent clash between indigenous and Indonesian forces. Until Dr. Tom came along. And he brought with himself new ideas based on Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, and Martin Luther King, and their nonviolent movement. When you pick up a gun, Indonesia will kill you and justify their kill. It's terrorism. He is a terrorist. But if you show up with nothing but argument, they have no reason to kill you. And if they kill you, they are guilty. So Dr. Tom Wangkai taught this principle of nonviolent resistance to all these West Papuans. And in 1988, it was about 25, 26 years after the Rome Agreement that gave Indonesia 25 years to administer West Papua. And so Dr. Tom had prepared all these leaders, like 70 of them, and they got together and they declared West Papua the independent state or independent republic of West Melanesia. Now, Melanesia is very important because West Papuans, the same argument the Netherlands gave, West Papuans are not Indonesians, they are not Asians, they are Melanesian people. And the Melanesian people are the countries that made up the majority black ethnic group, Papua New Guinea, Fiji, Vanuatu, Solomon Islands, my country and Charity's country, Solomon Islands. And so the independent state of West Melanesia was very important. And that's the beginning of the journey that actually resulted in the death of Dr. Tom Wangai. He was arrested, imprisoned, tortured, but the people still go to him. Go to prison, they visited him, they took inspiration and advices from him, and the Indonesian government snatched him out of Abepura prison and took him to Jakarta. He was kept in Chittenang prison where a lot of political activists were held at the time. All right, so in 1996, he died of some mysterious diseases, but we know what they did. But he started a movement that is now growing. And so because what he taught his people to challenge Indonesia, and back then it was under Suharto, President Suharto, who was a dictator. You say something against him, you'll be imprisoned, killed, or assassinated. It was terrible, it was dangerous, but Dr. Tom Wangai wasn't afraid. He stood up to dictator Suharto, and all his followers followed. When he died in 1996, they scattered, and they came back in 2000 when the Suharto regime collapsed. And they came back and carried on from there. And Haman Wangai is a witness to that because he himself was arrested and in prison for 2 years before he escaped. But the legacy that he left is the nonviolent approach to the issue of West Papua and Indonesia. And I think we'll be proud to know that the things that he taught and his methods of resistance is now producing a lot of good things. Now we have West Papuans in Australia, New Zealand, Europe, UK, and here in the US, and they are speaking out, and the formation of West Papua Human Rights Center is part of that. So I think that was a big legacy that Dr. Tom Wangai left behind. Like I said, he had a choice of entering life and become a professor and buy all the expensive things he wanted, but he chose to fight. And his methods was very effective. And the Indonesian government didn't know how to handle him, so they took him out. So I think December 14. And I just want to mention that, and I want to close with this. I always thought that December 1st is the Independence Day of West Papua because people make a big deal about it until I interviewed Haman Wangai, and then he made the argument that December 14th is truly the Independence Day of West Melanesia or West Papua. And currently, the West Papuan is part of the Melanesian Spearhead Group representing the indigenous people of West Papua. And that's a step in the right direction. And I think what we are doing here, preaching the words of the non-violent resistance in West Papua to the illegal occupation of West Papua is very important. And so for me, I think without Tom, we probably don't see each other today. So, because December 4th is very important. He was the one that laid down the idea that West Papuans must be independent, and December 14th, December 14th of every year should be the Independence Day of West Papua, and he left that legacy, and I think it's very important that we get together every December 14th and remember what he did for his people. And with that, I'll just leave it right here. I think we all understand a lot of what's going on right now.
Thank you.
With that, any contribution from you, Haman? Or okay. I'm gonna just hand it over to Haman Wangai, but I would like to say that he was not only a nonviolent leader, but he was dubbed the Nelson Mandela of West Papua, because we all know that Nelson Mandela was incarcerated for 27 years before he was released. And, he was released and led South Africa to incarcerate. Unfortunately for Dr. Thomas, they had to get rid of him, but he and Nelson Mandela fought the same fight, and they suffered tremendously. But there is no doubt Dr. Thomas was the father and the founder of the non-violent movement in West Africa. I think it's his important legacy. And I would like to pass it on to Herman Wangai to say a few words.
Yeah, thank you, brother.
Oh my goodness.
Herman, I think the other speakers have to mute their phones. There's too much background noise.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Okay, Herman. Yeah, I'm pretty much done here. I think I was going to hand it over to you. All I can say is December 14th, Independence Day, West Papua, the lasting legacy of Dr. Tom Wangai. So on to you, Herman.
Okay, thank you, brother Johnny, and also, yeah, thank you, our friends and colleagues, Professor Peter, Sister Charity, Caroline, and also, I see that today, our friends from the West Papua, they also join us. Our dear colleagues, one of the West Papua or Melanesian leader, West Melanesian leader, Bapak Paiki, and friends and colleagues. They are also listening to our presentation today regarding the West Papua Human Rights Center hosted this online forum to highlight why the West Papuan people, they are fighting, or Melanesian people, or we consider us as a West Melanesian. And so that's why we call our nation, our country, as a Republic of Melanesia. So today I want to say thank you for everyone watching from wherever you are, especially here in US, 14 December, back to what we say today. You already learned about the history of the West Melanesian fight for independence, fight for the freedom. And today we celebrate this or anniversary this to remind me back when my first day to involve with this long struggle, long journey from my country. And now I'm here in US. After a long journey, fighting for my safety. That's why the most important for my involvement in West Papuan struggle is like the safety is important because of we learned from the death of Dr. Tom Wangai. So that's given us the idea that we're fighting, we organize the movement non-violently, but we also thinking about the safety. So that's one of the biggest concern of my involvement in West Papua struggle is my safety. When I organize peaceful protests in West Papua, whether I'm here in exile after I escaped from West Papua or West Melanesian, use the Melanesian traditional canoe to Australia and come to US. I continue to ask for my safety. That's to secure my advocacy work. So I thank for everybody, especially for West Papua Human Rights Center friends, colleagues here, my human rights immigration lawyer here through your all support. And last year, thanks God, I got my political asylum granted by the US government. So thank you so much for your support and pray. I also want to say today for everybody, you're listening to my speech or my story today. On behalf of the West Papua, West Melanesian people, we want to say thank you also for the U.S. government to allow me to granted me political asylum to save my life here and continue to be the voice of my people, voice here in the U.S. I continue, even though with the West Papuan Human Rights Center, we are established as a human rights organization, but the root of the human rights violation is happening in West Papua because of the political freedom, political freedom rights to establish our new country, new nation, separate from Indonesia. So that's why the idea of establish the Republic of Melanesia, West Melanesia separate from Indonesia is the base of the proclamation, the number 14 December. But today we learn, like we already heard from Peter mentioned about the history of the first time the idea of establish the West Papuan Human Rights Center back in 2018 on 14 December to establish this organization. So we talk about the human rights, advocating about the human rights, part of the self-determination, part of the desire of the West Papuan people. So human rights violation continue happen until these days because of the desire of the West Papuan people, Melanesian people, West Melanesian people to establish their own country and their nation. So today I want to say thank you for you all supporting West Papuan struggle, Melanesian struggle. Myself here in US, when first time I got here, I remember that, just myself. But now the idea of being fighting alone is not Herman Wengai fighting alone. We have friends, we have colleagues, we have team, we have foundation. That's West Papuan Human Rights Center established. And now today you are hosting this event that's showing that West Papuan, Melanesian, West Melanesian people not struggling alone. I'm not struggling alone. So after 36 years, when we establish or proclaim this day as a Independence Day of Republic of Melanesian, is shown that we are Melanesian. We are not ASEAN people, but we are Melanesian. So when you see this flag, many people ask me when I share my story, what I use in recent years after U.S. government granted me political asylum, and this flag because of the legal argument. That's why we would like to continue to ask for U.S. government, continue ask for the United Nations to recognize it. Because of this flag, I was arrested. This flag, Melanesian flag, our national flag. So when you learn about the West Papuan history, you recognize, you are aware there's two flags. The other one they call Morning Star flag that's designed by the Dutch lawyer. His name is Mr. Derricke. That's a political idea of the Kingdom of Netherlands or the Dutch. So when you see the Morning Star flag, it's very almost same like a Dutch flag, but that's we are used for the campaign for showing that in the history of the West Papua Melanesian history that we've been a colony by the Dutch, like Indonesia and West Papua, we are both colony by the Dutch. So the Morning Star flag just reminds us back in 1960s that Dutch government promised for West Papuan to have their own country autonomy. But after we learned 16 years, the Dutch failed. So we describe that the Dutch is betray West Papua. That's why genocide is happening. And Dutch didn't spoke about the West Papuan political freedom in the United Nations General Assembly when the UN members country come together in New York. Dutch government never talk about their promise in the 1960s. That's why we want to show to international community, we want to show to the US government, we want to show to the Australia, Pacific Island brothers and sisters, Melanesia, Republic of West Melanesia. We are Melanesia, your brothers and sisters in West Papua, in West Melanesia, because of this flag, showing that our identity, Melanesia. We are dark skin. We have similar culture in the Pacific region. When you see that green, it's like West Papua is a rich country in the Pacific. So when we learn that other country in the Pacific, they already got independence, even though like the smallest country, but they already got the independence from the colony government. Like Vanuatu, they got the independence from the France. Papua New Guinea, the Seboda, West Melanesia and Papua New Guinea. But Vanuatu, and after Vanuatu got independence, Papua New Guinea got the independence from the Australia. How about West Papua? That's why we've been fighting for so long. And we want to show to international community after we establish our country as a Republic of West Melanesia, separate from Indonesia. So this flag is remind me back to my time in Indonesian prisons. Twice in Indonesian prisons because of this flag. This is the Melanesian flag. Melanesian nation state flag, West Melanesian, Republic of West Melanesia. That's established, that's the legal argument that in the recent years, West Papua Human Rights Center proposed the Washington solution to the US government. The idea of the Washington solution based on the proclamation number 14 December 1988. That one that Brother Johnny already mentioned about the idea of the legacy of the Dr. Tom Waingai, the Melanesian statement, West Papua Melanesian statement. He wrote the 163 article, the Constitution of Melanesian Constitution, West Melanesian Constitution. So our Constitution, after we proclaim the independent nation of Republic of West Melanesia, this flag is still, Indonesian government still keep it in the judiciary arsip. Until today, this flag, Indonesian government still keep it. And also our own constitution, that Dr. Tom Waingai wrote about our constitution. The Indonesian government still keep it, that constitution. Outline of the Melanesian government's systems that's we want to have one day to running our country. There's Indonesian governments. They keep it. They took it after the proclamation of December 14, 1988. So that's why today is a very important day for me, myself, but for us as West Papua and West Melanesians. We've been struggling for the international recognition. So that's why when we submit our West Papuan Human Rights Center proposal for the US government to remember those days in the 1960s after World War II, the role of the US government through the US government support, and then Indonesia coming to control West Papua began on 1st May 1963 based on the Rome Agreement signed on 30 September 1962. The one that's agreement that we reading very clear on our Washington solution document. So today, in my closing statement, I want to say thank you for your friends, colleagues, you all as a team, West Papua Human Rights Center. I think because we are not just human rights organization, but also we are tools. The platform that West Papuan Human Rights Center provide through your support for the West Papuan people to be, their voice to be here in US. And we do hope that US government, after granted my political asylum here in the US, my family pray, my brothers and sisters, my people pray, US governments have to play their role, the diplomatic roles again today to supporting the Washington solution, to bring the Indonesian government administrations come together with us, West Papuan Human Rights Centers, leadership with the Republic of West Melanesian government leadership to sit together to see for the future. So Indonesia and Republic of Indonesia and Republic of West Melanesia, we are as a good neighbor one day, diplomatically. And through support, channel to the US government, the involvement, how in the Pacific region that we land, that's US government, that's play very important, significant role in the Pacific region for establishing the security. So we do hope that we fighting together. When you save West Papuan Melanesian people today, you save Pacific region. When you supporting West Papua to be independent nation as a Melanesian nation instead, that means you save Pacific. So thank you for listening to my story and my share today. And yeah, we will continue. And I do hope in the coming new presidents, Donald Trump, Honorable Donald Trump, like we already published in our West Papua Human Rights Center Facebook page, that's we will continue to ask everybody to working alongside with us, West Papua Human Rights Center, West Papua Melanesian leader here in US, to supporting Melanesian brothers and sisters, people back home in West Papua, because they are listening to our story today. So thank you so much, and God bless, and happy Independence Day for the West Papua Melanesian brothers and sisters. Thank you. God bless.
Herman, would you like me to wrap up?
Yes, Peter. You can, now your turn to lead us, and yeah, feel free to say something to everybody that want to listen from you, Peter.
Thank you. Thank you, Herman. So it's been noted over the past decade by the international community that Indonesia is well on the way to becoming a great democracy in this world. It cannot be a great democracy when it persecutes the very people it claims to be under its protection. And it cannot be a great democracy if it doesn't allow the UN inspectors and other independent inspectors into West Papua to see what's happening. And it will never be a great democracy until it allows for the self-determination of a people that are truly independent of Indonesia, the West Papuans. And so we ask all of you, as a call to action, what can you do? Well, first and foremost, here, if you're in the United States, reach out to your congressmen and your senators and make them aware of what's happening within West Papua and Indonesia. And in the international community as well, reach out to your own governments and inform them of what's taking place. Too many people don't know what's happening, and the persecution continues. Second, we ask that you also bring this to your communities. We have resources here at the Human Rights Center that we can provide to help you teach and promote a peaceful discussion and advocacy for the people of West Papua. So please reach out to us as well. And lastly, we could always use financial support, of course, so feel free in that area to donate. And also, and probably most importantly, we need your prayers and your prayers as a community to pray for the people of West Papua and bring deliverance for them. So with that, we want to thank everyone that spent the time to listen to this today. And please go out and advocate for the people of West Papua. Thank you.
Friends, before continuing, please support, like and comment on this video, and don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel. God bless us all.